What's going on? All right, we are here. Let me get LinkedIn refreshed, make sure that this is actually working this time. Apologies for anyone, Sonia, for making you wait.
It's like my sister and my mom.
Heck yeah.
Let's go. Can you see who's in here? I can't see.
Have some feedback for LinkedIn. There we go. Cool. All right, Zayd, we are live. Thank you for taking the time to join. Would love I think it's going to be a really exciting session, talking about outbound as it is, obviously critical for B2B SaaS companies scaling. And, I think the foundation of this really comes from the fact that I think, we both can speak to is in this world of AI, from our end with content, it's really hard to kind of cut through the noise and contribute something valuable to people when everyone's putting out a lot of slop. And I'm sure you're experiencing this as well with sales. And so want to go through this session today and kind of talk about, how you can scale outbound with AI, but do it in a way that's, personalized and actually works. And so would love to get your takes on that. And then, we can wrap up the discussion at the end because I know content is a big part of your go-to-market as well, and would love to, uncover some of those insights that we can share with the audience about, some learnings you have there. So maybe before we dive into deep, do you want to give a little background on yourself?
Yeah, 100%. First off, appreciate you hosting and being here. Um, in terms of background, obviously my name's Zayd, CEO and founder of Valley. Prior to Valley, my whole career has been in appointment setting, specifically on LinkedIn. So outbound's sort of the jam. Previously started a company called Advisor Appointments that helped financial advisors book appointments with potential clients, and then Fish that helped emerging fund managers connect with LPs. Everything we did was take sort of old standard templated outbound software like your $50 monthly automation tool and then layer services on top like research, personalization, copywriting, reply management. So the customer just had booked meetings on their calendar, but it was done in this top 1% way, right? Like what are the best reps doing? And so after those two companies decided to jump into tech and started Valley with the whole thesis of how do I put one of those services into a piece of software. So like this whole notion of productized software or service as a software. And so you can really think of Valley as a clone of you, as if you were a top 1% rep, automating LinkedIn messages 24/7. And what would that thing do? What would that clone do? 5 things. Number one, it's going to find high intent leads for you. Number two, it's going to research those leads across 60, 70 different data points. Three, it's going to score those leads. Who's a high fit? Who's a low fit? So you can prioritize. Four, it's crafting messaging for you that's hyper personal, hyper relevant, hyper unique, that's going to resonate. And five, it's sending that out at scale and managing replies for a tenth of the cost of what an agency would do. So that's the tool. We power outbound for a ton of cool companies. And yeah.
Yeah, I think thank you for that overview. I think, very helpful. And I think one thing to note as, I've gotten to know you is your age. And I hate focusing on that too much, but I think with your with your experience and your background, it's pretty insane what you've been able to accomplish at a younger age. Where this urgency come from? Like what compelled you to jump into this like I need to go fix, outbound sales at, in your early 20s.
I don't know. I wasn't really urgent about anything growing up. Yeah. So it was very weird. I think I was initially just procrastinating. Like that's why I got into this first company.
Yeah.
Like the reason why I initially started advisor appointments with my co-founder was I was supposed to be studying for my ACTs and I was on Snapchat and this guy I don't know that I'd met years ago had this little black square on his Snapchat story that said, "Hey, anybody want to start a company with me?" I was like, "Well, fuck, anything's gonna be better than doing these practice tests." So swiped up, talked to the dude, had no idea what the company idea even was, like what the fuck is client acquisition for financial advisors,
Yeah.
and ended up starting that, learning about it for a month, and that ended up going really well. And then I think from there, it wasn't like a let me go solve the specific problem, but it was a hold on, wait, I can be really good at this thing, and I'm excited about the potential of where this could go. So then kind of replicated the same thing for my second company. And then I'd always been infatuated with the idea of running a tech company. Obviously, you see like all of the outside looking in, you see the social network, and you see like it's a super sexy venture backed capital space. Um, and so, anyways, decided to jump in to see if I could, yeah, try my hand there. And then Valley ended up taking off and doing relatively well, and yeah, we're moving from there.
Dude, you paused or dropped out from Colombia? Like how do you think about risk in general? It just seems like you're always going the risky path.
Okay, this is going to sound super cliche. This is going to sound super cliche, but I think that the alternative is far riskier. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
if you think about the idea of having a full time job or like as an employee, I think it's far riskier because like yeah, you can do your job incredibly well, right? You can be a top performer at that company, but if the people above you kind of fuck it and they make poor decisions or they run out of money, or any number of variables that you don't have sort of your hands on the steering wheel for, could happen that force you to be laid off, right? And the people at top aren't getting cut.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so I think there's this fake notion that a employee is inherently going to be more secure than somebody who's running and starting a company. So that's number one. And then number two, it's like everybody, I like to think about things in bell curves a lot. And so if you think about wanting to achieve something that's sort of two standard deviations away from the mean, you're kind of sitting over here, right? There's a very small proportion of people here. You've got the average right here, the mean, and then a bunch of other people over here. And if you want to achieve what very few people achieve, it's atypical inputs for atypical outputs. So the idea that I'm doing something that the vast majority of people aren't doing actually gives me a lot of security and peace of mind in the sense that it's probably going to put me on the path that I want to be on because that's ultimately where I would love to exist. And I think a lot of people want to do that, but they don't think about, well, if I do want to exist there, are my inputs atypical enough such that I will have the atypical output that I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah, I think Hormozy or one of those like business gurus says that it's like you want like outsized like returns or you want to be known and do something unique, but you're not willing to like do the things that you're following the path that everyone else is taking. But
exactly.
yeah, you're never gonna get there. I get that. Also sounds like some control component as well, having control of your own destiny, which I totally resonate with. So yeah, man. Well, awesome. I'm glad you're doing the things you're doing and you're crushing it. So I want to jump into sales because I know our live streamers are here to listen about that. So I want to talk about or just like dive into Valley, or not even Valley specifically, but like what you think about outbound sales right now. Like, what are you seeing work? I think people have kind of moved away from a spray and pray approach, with more like ABM. What are you seeing, from Valley's perspective right now?
Yeah, I'm seeing that two extremes are working. I think historically for the past, I don't know, call it like 5 years, you had this middle sort of malaise that was just kind of sending out 50,000 messages a month and hoping for the best. It used to work, let's call it 10 years ago when outreach and sales law first came on the scene. You had 12, 15% reply rates. That started to atrophy over the course of the past 5 years. But what's working is either you go all the way towards the volume approach, right? And you have like the Adam Robinson RB2B, which is I'm going to go tap my entire TAM once a month, right? It's
Yeah,
going to send a million emails a month. And that's a whole thing to orchestrate. And that's one approach that totally still can work, but
yeah,
you need 100x the volume that people thought you needed to. And that's has a bunch of infrastructure issues, and setup and maintenance. It's just a whole shit show. The
yeah,
other option is super, super targeted, right? Focusing on intent signals, warm outbound, that whole approach. And you're running these micro campaigns. And so that's really where Valley focuses. I think if you look back at the previous era of outbound, there were four core components. You had general filter based lists. You then threw those into a template messaging system. You had LinkedIn messages, email messages, and then replies, right?
hmm
I think what you are seeing now is a 5 or 6 step system, which is first identify the signals that actually tell you that somebody is ready to purchase. Now, in our case, one example, We use a couple different ones. Number one is website visitors, so the people that are viewing our site, on our pricing page, high signal pages, high signal blogs, case studies. Number two is going to be content, right? Everybody who engages with our content or everybody who engages with our competitors' content. Those are hyper hot leads. And then three could be a number of different ones, more of like your third party intent signals that you can get from an Apollo or a Zoom Info of like, okay, are people looking at purchasing X, Y, or Z type of technology or job postings, for example? Are people posting for an SDR? That would be a great signal for us.
Hmm.
So start with figuring out what those signals are. Number two is building the technology or purchasing the technology to consolidate all of them. And so there are a number of great tools that people can use. Our thesis is that all of that should exist under one roof, right?
Hmm.
Just like Outreach built the all-in-one solution for V1 of outbound, we want to build an all-in-one solution for V2. But there are a bunch of great point solutions that exist right now. Clay, obviously, RB2B, Valley, you name it. Um, and then from there, score those leads, which Valley will be able to perform. So focus on your highest intent leads, the highest ICP fits. You don't need to message everybody. If you have for us, like a VP of sales who's hiring SDRs, who is also on our pricing page but didn't book a demo, that's an easy message to go send and get that
Yeah.
perfect funnel. And then lastly is going to be a ton of account research, which now you can do. Previously, you have to do with reps. Now you can do with AI, Perplexity deep research, web scrapers, Firecrawl, etc. Take all that information and then turn it into a hyper personalized message by combining your product details, your voice, and then send that out at scale. That can either be an at scale, meaning 20 messages a week, 30 messages a week to the best people.
Yeah.
That's the total other extreme of what I think micro campaigns are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's room for that kind of like mass scale. I feel like it's not right for most companies that are doing outbound. And I think that's, one of the things that drew me to Valley in the first place was being able to get to that personalization level, and making that message actually relevant. And I think we both played around enough tools to know that like most of them just kind of suck. And like I mean, from our end, like AI content writing is like horrendous and it's so easy to spot and it translates directly into outbound. On your guys' back end, because you are using AI, like how have you guys constructed it where um you can make those message feel more personal or like to the audience, like how do you actually get those messages to sound like something that someone's not put off by?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time here. So I think that there are most AI tools, they'll give you like four different vectors: the casual, direct, funny, and
Hmm.
formal. And they all sound like garbage.
Yeah.
Valley, I don't know if I should share my screen and kind of show what we
Yeah,
can.
yeah, yeah. Please.
Um,
Let's
but
get
with
into it.
Valley, we've got this system where you can actually provide it with specific instructions on what you'd want to do, exactly like how you would train a rep, right? So if we hop into Valley Studio, this is where all of the AI training exists. And so you can hop into writing styles. This is the Valley writing style. And I'm really speaking to it as if I took out a piece of paper, I jotted down some notes on how I speak or how I write, and I handed that to my newly hired BDR. I'm saying, Valley, focus on doing these things, right? Focus on these points. Follow up like this, right? Just have a casual bump in the follow ups. Use these words or phrases. Start the message with hi or hey. Be casual. Never
Mhm.
jargon and buzzwords. And then we've also, across all of our customers, we found out which writing styles, which do's and don'ts work best for selling into directors, executives, engineering leaders, product leaders, HR leaders. So
Mm.
all those templates are pre-built into Valley with some statistics on what's worked, what hasn't.
Oh, that's
Uh,
epic.
and then you can also paste in sequences that have worked well in the past. So if you have a high-performing message sequence right now, and this is a use case that we see all the time, people come from HeyReach and they say, "Hey, this template works. We're booking 10 meetings a month." They'll put that sequence in this text box here, and then Valley will just add a few lines of personalization or something to make it seem that it's a one-to-one message, and immediately results will improve 30, 40, 50%. But the rest of the body of the message stays relatively the same. So
Yeah.
there's this hyper malleability. You can either have something very strict and structured with a bit of personalization, or you can have Valley be much more free flowing and just focus on sounding like you, for example.
Yeah, I think getting that tone of voice dialed in is like such an overlooked step where um some people rush it, and again, like this is something that we kind of deal with on our end as well, but like people don't really know what their tone of voice is, right? Like that's not something you sit down and think about unless you're, trying to use one of these tools. So being able to kind of, massage it back and forth with the do's and don'ts. And then I love that you guys have these like templates as well. Because honestly that's such a frustrating part, or you're like, this doesn't sound like me, but I don't know what to prompt it to make it sound like me. And if I can just like replicate something that already exists and then kind of modify from there, having that starting point is awesome as well.
I think it's super interesting, right? Because like we see that in onboardings all the time. People are like, "What am I supposed to put in here?" Like, I don't know. I don't know how I write. Um, and what I find interesting is that when people see that, they're like, "I this message sounds off. I don't really know why." They just tell the AI be more human or be less robotic, but it
Yeah.
also has no idea what you're talking about, right? And so you have to be super tactical around like, okay, this is how I do punctuation. This is how I do M dashes. This is how I do when I use commas, when I don't. This is when I use
Yeah.
letters. This is when I don't. I found that words and phrases, just give it specific phrases that you use frequently, helps
Mm.
a lot. It can also infer a lot from those phrases if it's formal, casual, whatever. Um, but yeah, the templates have definitely helped in that regard as well. So people aren't staring at this blank canvas.
Yeah. Okay, so I see you have a bunch of these writing styles, and I'm sure you've had iterations of these. Do you have like one Zayd writing style, or do you use different writing styles for different ICPs you're reaching out to? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so like the only time I'll have different writing styles for different ICPs is if there's something that I want it to specifically mention, like specific a templated piece of messaging that
Mm,
has to be included. And so I'm trying to think if there's anything that I introduced here. Uh, let's see. So like I've got one for PR firms, like focus on Valley being X, Y, and Z for PR firms, focus on Valley being one, two, and three for go to market agencies.
yeah.
Um, for here's an example messaging template that I gave Valley for our dev tooling companies that we target. So, but in terms of going after different levels of buyers, I've seen a pretty marginal difference for if you're targeting directors versus executives, like the tone that you need to use. Where really you'll see a lot of variance is going to be in the products and in the
Hmm.
way that Valley is positioning your value propositions, your pain points, and your proof points. And so
Yeah.
people generally create, like early stage companies will create 4 or 5 of these. They'll then launch campaigns with all of them, and they'll test out these different messaging variations to see where their positioning is landing best.
Okay, so we had your writing style, and now we have different products. So these products are what are you testing mostly here? Can you just
Yeah.
run through that?
So if we zoom out, writing style is going to be just how do you write? This is going to be all stylistic information inside of writing styles. The product is going to be much more content focused, right? So, like, what do you want the content of these messages to be? How do you want Valley to talk about your business? What's the business information? What are the value props that you're offering, the pain points that you solve, and the proof points to back that up? And so, for a lot of early stage companies, they may have different ways of positioning their product. So, for us, sometimes we like to position as a all-in-one replacement for Clay, HeyReach, and RB2B. In other cases, we like to position as a AI SDR for LinkedIn, right? And we want to see what's most resonant for these different ICPs that we're targeting.
Yeah,
We'll create a whole sort of cohort of products that I can test on any given campaign.
got it. Can you walk us through like a workflow? So, Zaid, we got a comment that it's a little hard to hear you. I don't know if sitting closer to
Oh, really?
the mic will be better.
I can try to find some headphones as well.
No, that's all good. I think it's fine. But yeah, I think right. So most of the people watching this, I assume, have probably not set up a LinkedIn outbound campaign before. So if we could just like we dialed in the tone, we dialed in the product. One thing I'll note, because I obviously use Valley, is testing different products, to Zaid's point, was really helpful, but it also kind of helped me figure out like what the right offer and what the right pitch was, which so many early stage companies try to. There's no like clear way to get data unless you're like on a call with someone. And using it for that use case was so beneficial for us of just like what are the pain points that actually get people to want to jump on a call and like talk about this. And I separated those into the different products to be able to get that data back, which was hugely valuable early on.
Yep, 100%. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Okay. So let's walk through. I'll take people through this top to bottom. Um, so the first thing that you do when you sign into Valley is going to be Studio. When you sign up, your first writing style and your first product are going to be created for you. You can edit any of this information if you want to, but it's just going to scrape what exists on your site and will spit out these value props, pain points, proof points, and then you can select any of these templates as your first canvas to work with. Once that's complete, you're going to go into the create campaign function. Super simple. 99% of our customers are Valley AI, right? Making sure that all the messaging is custom and unique. And the process, yeah,
Just for a second, so that's you can select between using AI or you can actually do in like a pre-templated
exactly.
system. Okay, cool.
So, like, if people wanted to leverage some of the old guard of outbound
Yeah.
and templated outreach, they can. But you can still leverage, even if you're doing a templated campaign, all of our other AI features, which I'll show you in a second, but like re-engagement messages, prospect scoring, etc. Cool. All right. So if we click on Valley AI, the first thing that you're going to do is name the campaign and decide if you want this to be a LinkedIn connection request campaign or a LinkedIn in-mail campaign. Valley can send about 500 connection requests per month and about 800 in-mails per month. From there, you can build your cadence. And I'll talk a little, actually, I'll pause here and talk about the in-mails because that's something that people are generally surprised by. So LinkedIn gives you 100 or 150 in-mail credits per month if you have
Hmm.
LinkedIn Sales Navigator. What Valley does, and as far as I know, we're one of the only tools that does this, is it's going to segment or it's going to find the open profiles in a LinkedIn audience. Open profiles are people who have purchased LinkedIn Premium and where sending an in-mail does not cost a credit. And so if you're targeting sales leaders, about 40% of those people are going to be open profiles. LinkedIn gives you 800 free in-mails that you can send to them, plus the 150 credits.
Wait,
Uh,
really?
yeah, yeah, it's awesome.
Wait, that needs to be more widely known because I never send any in-mails and it sounds like I'm missing a lot of opportunity there.
I'm going to show you guys a campaign that one of our customers launched.
Yeah,
Solely in mails. They used a LinkedIn post as their audience. They have a 34% response rate right now,
that's
where the
insane.
cold industry average for in mails is 2%. Um,
Dude, that's
yeah,
insane.
yeah, it's awesome. Uh,
Um, okay, all right. So we're doing LinkedIn Connects and we're doing in-mails. What about these sequences? Like how many nodes do you recommend? Like
yeah,
what's best practices here?
yep. Okay, so connection request. If the person accepts and they don't respond, follow up one will go out. Generally, I'll do 3 days later. Follow up two, I like to do 2 days later. Or sorry, follow up 2 days later, and then the final follow up I do 1 day later.
Okay.
Uh, so that's my sequence. I never like to send more than 3 follow-ups. I'm sure there's going to be some low-hanging fruit that I can go and grab if I send 7, but I'm
Yeah.
going to pick a whole bunch of people up. So
Yeah.
um, 3 is going to be the max that I would recommend, but you can add up to 10 inside of Valley. Um,
Do you
yeah,
ever do you ever worry in general about like risking any type of like I don't know, like what's the threshold of like being too obnoxious in this process versus, maintaining some, kind of humanity in this?
yeah. Like, I don't know. Is your question around like when does it become too much, like too many follow-ups, or is the question like around when does it feel like it is too spammy, templated, AI, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the value of LinkedIn is it feels a little bit more personal than just like an outbound email, right? Like you respect that that person is a professional and you're a professional and you're connecting over something, but like you don't want it to just be like full spam. Like how do you kind of walk that line as a founder that uses, LinkedIn outbound?
Yeah. So I think that like the the way to answer that question is like what's ground truth today. It's not like everybody is sending a bunch of handwritten letters to one another. Like ground truth today is you are either sending maybe 1 or 2 connection requests a day, maybe 5, 10 if you have some time, or you're sending a bunch of templates, or you can use a tool like Valley to send something personal and relevant at scale.
Yeah.
And what is going to be the reaction? So like I love to share some of these messages,
Yeah.
uh, but I get these daily, right? People saying, "Hey, I pay attention when people get me, and you won. I'm looking for a partner who can work with my clients. Let's do X, Y, and Z." This person, wow, this was automated. I appreciate you getting back to me. There are there are tons. I like your approach. I want to hear more. So like people are genuinely appreciative when they get something relevant, when they get something tailored to them.
Yeah.
Um, Sam, of the many unsolicited emails I get daily, I appreciate you took the time to personalize this one. That said, I'm open to a quick call to find out more. So when people are coming from the ground truth of a bunch of templated messages, something like Valley, one, breaks through the noise, which is great for you, but two, also allows the prospect to feel respected, cared for, listened to, and feel like they were invested in. So they're going to be more likely to invest time back into you. There are a bunch of positive externalities of sending messages like this, and one of them is you're not going to come off as some sort of uh, spammy asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense where it's if you can preserve that authenticity through tone of voice and actually doing that research and it's not, clearly just like a templated blasted email or message, you preserve that. All right, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I want to get into because you guys do so much research on the back end that I see so many people trying to like recreate and do in clay and it's just not working very well. So I want to give you an opportunity to talk through that as well.
Yeah, of course. Um, cool. So let me hop back into Valley here. Okay, so once you built your sequence, you then decide how you want to bring prospects in the door. And so
Hmm.
we directly integrate with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So you can paste in an audience there.
Hmm.
You can upload a CSV of leads. You can also upload via LinkedIn posts, right? So this, I think, is a fantastic bottom of funnel signal.
Hmm.
Essentially, what this is doing is saying, okay, if there is a influencer in your space, right? We can take in the sales space. I don't know. You can think of Austin Hughes or Adam Robinson. All of the people that LinkedIn is showing that post to are probably looking to build awareness in sales tech. They're in a buying cycle for a certain type of sales tech, or they're about to enter a buying cycle for a certain type of sales tech. All of those people are individuals that I want to get messages out to.
Hmm.
Because again, they're showing the signal that they're interested and they're engaged on LinkedIn. And so what we generally do is we'll scrape our competitors' LinkedIn posts, right, for other AI linked automation tools, and we'll get a fantastic message out to them right at the time when they are thinking about purchasing something. That campaign for us has a 24% reply rate, which I can show in just a moment.
That's so smart because LinkedIn's algorithm has already decided who's kind of looking at these things. So you're kind of piggybacking off of the work it's already done.
Yeah,
I love that.
100%. Like the LinkedIn algorithm we all know is incredibly powerful. If you guys haven't seen my content on LinkedIn yet, you're going to see it after this demo.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, why not just piggyback on that signal? It's really, really useful.
that's epic. There's so many campaigns I want to spin up now.
Yeah.
That's great.
So from there, you're just going to select a product that you want Valley to sell, select a writing style that you want it to adopt, an outreach language. We support about 20. Um, your autopilot settings. This is something you don't frequently see with AI tools, but basically this gives you the option to have human in the loop. So when autopilot's off, Valley is just going to be like your intern. It's going to research, it's draft messaging, and then it's going to let you approve those messages before they're sent. If autopilot is on, Valley is going to do that whole workflow, and you just have to manage replies.
Got it. So you can kind of test. Is that something you can change later? Like, can you just like set it up, see how it's running, and then just let it go?
Exactly. Exactly. That's generally what we'll see. Like people's first one or two campaigns, they'll do autopilot off, and then from there, they're going to let autopilot rip all future campaigns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Sweet.
are what are recommendations on sequence volume? I think I know people are concerned about like getting LinkedIn accounts banned and stuff, or flagged. Any recommendations here?
Yeah. So I can say like categorically, we're the safest LinkedIn automation tool in the market. We give anybody a 3x money back guarantee if they even see a flag. We haven't seen one since October of 2023, um, which I don't think any other LinkedIn tool can claim. In terms of what we generally like to recommend, it's going to be 25 connection requests per day. And then you can do up to 40 in-mails per day. That said, Ellie is always going to automatically throttle you if we ever get a sense that LinkedIn is close to flagging that account.
Mm,
And so some accounts I've seen have sent about 1,600 in-mails. I don't know how. And about 1,600 connection requests and have been totally fine. Valley will always press pause when it sees a signal that LinkedIn might be ready to flag that account. So we will let you send a bunch more if LinkedIn lets you send more. If LinkedIn doesn't, we stop you.
yeah. Sweet.
Yeah. Awesome. So from there, you just select a time of day, days of the week, and then the research library. This is my favorite part of the product. Essentially, what Valley's asking you is if you had unlimited time in your day, what research would you do on these prospects prior to generating a message? And so think of yourself, right? Like, what research would you be doing manually? I would generally do a prospect deep dive. I would scrape the whole digital presence of the company. Depending on what you're selling, you can look at hiring trends, financial performance, partnerships, M&A history, fundraising history from Crunchbase, customer reviews from G2, industry headwinds and tailwinds, competitor analysis. My favorites are recent news, press releases, and blogs and newsletters. Um, and then soon, right now, you can only select 5 out of the 40 that we have available here. Soon, we're pushing an update where there are going to be 112 agents, and you can select all 112, um, which is going to be absurd. I've seen some of the test prospect summaries that we've generated with this update. They're 36 pages long.
So can you dive into one of these, because this is something that I think is like so incredible, where um so many of these other tools just don't offer this research. Like, it's on you to do that research, with whatever system, usually Clay based, and then import it into your outreach tool. What's going on behind the scenes here? Like, should we just rely on this? Should we be doing additional research? Like, one of these agents, like, what is it actually doing in the back?
Yeah, 100%. So I think there's two ways to answer the question. Number one, it, there are so many. Right now, the stack is entirely unbundled, right? So like you have to go and pipe all of this data together. The
Yeah,
whole idea of Valley is how do we rebundle for like the next sort of iteration or evolution of what outbound is.
yeah.
Don't need to understand how to pipe your Perplexity API key into a Clay table, a Clay, create a webhook into HeyReach, create another webhook into SmartLead. Like, it's a bunch of technical jargon just because the products today don't solve the problem that sellers want to solve, which is how do I automate high intent leads with a bunch of research with a great message on the best channel.
Hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, I don't think number one, it's definitely unnecessary to do any more research. The way I like to characterize the research agents is if there is a 1% chance that a human would find information, there is a 100% chance that Valley would find that information.
Yeah.
On the back end, we're running a bunch. So, number one is going to be enrichment databases. So, all of your prospects that you upload, we enrich across 3 different third parties. So, all the data that exists in those data providers, we're gathering. People Data Labs, Prospeo, and MixRank, all of, and Wizza now as well. Um, so 4 different types of enrichments. Number 2 is web scrapers. So we've built a bunch of an army of web scrapers internally that are going to go pull different news articles, social media posts. If they have a newsletter on Substack or Beehive, a
Hmm.
podcast on Spotify or Apple Music, and then we also run as sort of a catch-all Perplexity deep research searches. And so that's going to obviously come up with sort of anything that these agents may have missed. Perplexity will fill in the gaps to build this massive knowledge graph on the prospect, what challenges we think they have, what they've been up to, what matters in their world, what matters for their boss, the decision maker of the company, etc.
That's so cool. Yeah, and clearly from the wins that you sent before, it clearly is able to personalize to a layer. Are there any like guides, or like, how do you pick which ones to use based off the campaign you're doing?
Yeah, so generally, like unless you're running some specialized campaign, like you're targeting, I don't know, potential acquisition targets, I would stick with the 5 that I just mentioned.
Hmm.
But like if you're a private equity firm, right, financial performance is obviously useful. If you're a recruiting firm, looking at the recent hiring trend analysis would be very helpful. In some cases, I also recommend if you're selling into hyper competitive industries, select the competitor analysis one, because what Valley will do is say, hey, I just saw that company A raised their Series B last week.
Yeah.
Sure, that pipeline generation efficiently is top of mind for you. Here's how Valley can help win the competition, whatever. And it pulls on those competitive heartstrings that every founder or every SVP has. So that I recommend pretty frequently as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Um,
And then one thing I'll show you actually, well, if you're curious, I
yeah.
ran you through, we have this little dummy playground where I can run single prospects through a search.
Oh, cool.
And so I ran you through, and you can see that like Valley found a bunch of stuff. Your rebrand, apparently you align really well with our anti-spray and pray philosophy. Podcasts, commitment to founder voice and authenticity. And then you can just take a look at the amount of information that Valley has gathered on you, and this is what we'll generally do in sales calls, and people are blown away. And you'll also see that if Valley needs to leave something blank, unlike a lot of other sales tools, it's just going to leave it blank, right? It's not going to hallucinate and try to make something up.
Yeah.
Uh, it's got a ton of quotes from your LinkedIn, company overview, information on sort of how your company's performing, financial health, organizational decision making, and I can send all this stuff to you. It's really cool to look through. But just an unbelievable knowledge graph that Valley has built on your business.
Dude, that's insane. I've never seen the back end before like this. This is so
Yeah,
cool.
100%.
Man, and if you okay, so it's doing that for all of the prospects.
Exactly.
That alone is like a huge amount of time saver. That's crazy.
Because I would say, like, if you were going to do this manually, this level of research would take you at least 1 hour, if
Yeah.
not 3 or 4. No sales rep was doing this before. I'd say even like the amount of research that a sales rep was doing prior to Valley was probably 15 minutes. Valley is doing 4 to 5 hours worth of research per prospect, and obviously doing it in a matter of 2 minutes per prospect versus 5 hours, right? So massive, massive time savings. So, anyways, tons of info there.
Okay. All right. So now we've got all this research.
Yeah.
What happens next?
All right. So once I click create, Valley goes behind the scenes and starts triangulating the prospect data, the product info, and the writing style info to go and craft your custom messages. All of this is surfaced to you in your approvals folder. So you can hop into approvals, think of this as your proverbial drafts folder. You can see all these custom messages that Valley's generated for you. And you're also going to see the ICP fits for these individuals. Now, I've already approved all of my prospects that are high ICP fits, so there are none left. Let's say I click on the mediums, right? There are going to be a couple left here. I can click on the tag and I can see exactly why Valley has scored someone high, medium, or low. The purpose being everybody is limited to the same number of messages, plus or
Right.
minus 100 on LinkedIn. So focus on the highest fits and let Valley do the qualification process for you instead of having a rep do it manually. If you wanted to look up a specific prospect that you want to get a message out to, you can do so. And then you can see what Valley is generated. So here for me, it said, hey, Jason, noticed your recent Forbes article on breaking through artificial walls. It really resonated with me and how Valley helps teams like Archetype break through the noise and connect with ideal prospects. We're getting 15% reply rates for similar teams, turning cold outreach into actual conversations, and automating a lot of the manual processes you mentioned in Entrepreneur. Would love to chat if you're open to exploring ways Valley can help Archetype achieve similar results. So it's casual, it's
Great
in my
message.
voice, right? It's lowercase letters, it's got shitty punctuation, it uses dashes instead of commas. It's exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
And then you can also see the ICP fit scores. You can see problem intensity score, relevance, again, slightly deeper dive into the quality of the prospect. And then an abridged summary in here as well on the key insights of the person, the competitor analysis, published articles and contributions. And then just click approve to get the message out the door. Um, the last piece I'll mention, I'll
Yeah. Yeah.
pause.
No, go for it. Go for it. I have a few questions, but I don't want to
Yeah.
interrupt your flow.
No, the last thing is just the inbox. Valley will automatically triage all of your interested, might be interested, not interested replies.
Hmm.
So you can focus on the people who are actually engaging.
Do
Um,
you jump in at that point, or do you kind of let the autopilot run?
I let Autopilot run in the sense like Valley will draft all my replies, and then all I just have to do is click approve on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the way I'll generally operate.
And then if we okay, so we zoom out for a second too, because on their end, they get this really well-crafted message and they click your profile. And um you obviously post a lot of organic content as well. And like the main reason to post organic content is just for this. It's like they go to your profile and they see the work you've been doing, they see who you are, they look at your content. How do you think about your content strategy, your organic content strategy pairing with the outbound that you're doing? Is there like how do you see synergies between the two?
I think it's highly symbiotic, right? I think there's an interesting flywheel. Number one, LinkedIn rewards people who post content with higher limits, and so if you're posting content, people are engaging with you. I've seen a general trend that LinkedIn will let you send more connection requests and more in-mails than the average person. Even if we go to my campaigns table, we can take a look at. I've hit my limits now. It's the end of the month. If I look at the past 30 days, supposedly LinkedIn has a limit of 400 connection requests per month. I've sent 908.
Crazy.
So and I've seen that grow as my follower count has grown and as my number of and as my content frequency has grown. So that's number one. Number two is if you're posting content, people get a message. Again, they look at your profile, they see credibility, they see authenticity. It's going to lead to more acceptances. It's going to lead to more replies. Um, and then number three, I think if you are posting content, you obviously have a bunch of warm leads that you can harvest, right? Grab all the people that are engaging, score them for ICP fit, make sure they're not current customers, then you get a message out to them. Oftentimes, if you've got, I don't know, 15, 20, 30, 50,000 followers and people get a personal connection request from you, obviously that reflects really well and people will be excited to talk to someone they perceive as a thought leader in the space. I think they bounce off one another really well.
Yeah. That's something I personally run all the time is people who have viewed my profile immediately get thrown into a sequence. And of course, like if I have a post that, goes viral or gets a lot of attention, I'm qualifying those leads as well and putting them into a sequence because that is, I think in this era, especially with LinkedIn selling, is like the number one indication that someone is interested in what you're building is if they continuously engage with your content, especially if they've made it to your website.
Yep, totally agree. How is the profile viewer campaign running for you? Because that's one of the features that we have in the roadmap right now. And I'm trying to figure out how useful it will be is scraping people's daily profile viewers and then outbounding to them.
Honestly, it's really, really good. As a service business, I'd say the people that view my profile are people who would potentially like to work with me. Like anytime I post like a job or hiring post, it like gets so much attention. But then a lot of people are viewing my profile that are more like writers and content strategists, which is awesome. I mean, like hiring is a whole pain in the ass as well. So it's actually really helpful there. And then I would say about 60 or 70% of people visiting my profile are people that are genuinely right. They have to have been discovering me through my content because that is the only way I'm putting myself out there and it's all organic. So I think it's hugely valuable. If you guys had that built in, I think that's a great feature addition.
Sweet. Cool. Good to know.
All right. You also do a newsletter, and I know you post like wildly like helpful playbooks and sales outreach processes on your LinkedIn. What's kind of your approach to creating content in general?
Yeah. Okay. So I think on the LinkedIn side, there are a couple of things that I would focus on, and I would call it like a semi-automated approach. So the first thing is like go look for the influencers in your space that are doing really well. And one of the first items that I had my growth guy complete was go grab 50 of their posts, throw them into Claude or ChatGPT or Grok or whatever you want, and just have it analyze the hooks, the trends, what they're talking about, the line spacing, the length of the posts, the different patterns of topics, like what are these people posting on Monday versus Wednesday versus Thursday versus Friday,
Yeah.
uh, and build that analysis out. From there, the easiest way to go and create content I found is to do like a content interview. So have a bunch of questions, 30 questions, have somebody interview you, you just speak your answers, and then have some sort of LLM turn that into a bunch of drafts that you then review, you edit, you humanize, you work on, and then you can post those out. It's the fastest way to get yourself to 5 pieces of content out per month. And obviously, you have a direct influence in making sure that you're talking about the right ideas, that it sounds like you, that it's actually informative, that it's high quality.
Yeah.
But AI is supporting in the areas where I think it should, which is in the grunt work of like just how do I get past the writer's block, and then a human can turn it into something that again has humanity to it.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's worked really well for us. It's been a mixture of like thought leadership posts plus consolidating, aggregating. I'd say thought leadership around sales, but also aggregation posts have done really well.
Hmm.
So I'm a huge podcast guy, which I'm sure I guess every founder says that. Uh, but if you think about like the content that I wish existed when I was looking into positioning, right? I spent a lot of time digging into how should we position Valley. And there were two sort of predominant thought leaders in the space. There was April Dunford and there was Anthony Pieri. There are the two guys that you'll see all the time on LinkedIn, different written content newsletters. And so I went to ChatGPT 03 and I was like, hey, can you consolidate all of the philosophies, guides, and thoughts of April Dunford on positioning and Anthony Prieri on positioning into 20 bullets, and then give me gut checks or ways that I can test if I'm doing this for my own company, right? If I'm applying their methods well. It gave me this piece of content. I used it. I found it really useful. And I said, well, hold on. I think a lot of other people would love to see this aggregation of thoughts and ideas and how to actually apply it tactically at your own business. Turned into a piece of content, and then that did really well as a top of funnel content piece.
Hmm.
I think that got, I don't know, 500, 600 likes.
Yeah, I think that's the craziest thing is like people think about like creating content is like you have to produce something new, and it's like quite the opposite. It's like take what you're already doing, the podcasts you're consuming, the books you're reading, whatever is the sales calls you're having, like whatever you're already doing, just figure out a really easy process to capture that and like distill that same information. Is like the quickest way to get to content possible without creating any additional work for yourself, especially if you use AI in different ways to kind of like automate that on the back end. Um, how do you think about the balance between you are selling a product? Like, what's the balance for you of like educational content versus like promotional?
I would say the vast majority is educational. We'll do some bottom of funnel stuff, which is like the only promotional items that we'll do are like showcasing Valley messaging or showcasing people's replies to Valley messaging,
Yeah.
which I guess you can consider promotional. But I would say like keep an 80, 20, and 90-10 split on educational, informative. And you can put your own product in there, right? It's like if I talk about hyper performant outbound flows, I'll promote a bunch of products, Valley being one of them,
Hmm.
useful to the reader. But yeah, I would say anywhere between 80-20, 90-10 in terms of like full on promotional versus educational.
Got it. Any surprising pieces of content that did super well that you weren't expecting?
Yeah, I think one of them was the aggregated sort of a positioning post that I think did really well. Um, I did the same strategy for Harry Stebbings, the 20 VC guy, and like consolidating his principles that he's learned across interviewing 1,000 growth, product, venture capital
Yeah.
leaders and founders. And then the other one was the lead magnet that we did. Um, I can't remember which one blew up. I think it was the anti go to market engineer uh,
Mhm.
lead magnet that we pushed out. LinkedIn, for some reason, is really rewarding these things. That got like 1,200 likes, a bunch of comments, and just dumped inbound leads into our calendar. So yeah, I think lead magnets are they're having a moment right now.
Yeah.
They seem kind of cringe, but just do them because they work.
Yeah, they work. What so your go-to-market motion as a whole, it sounds like is organic content paired with Valley Outbound. Are you guys doing anything else?
That's the whole thing. Like we scaled well past a million ARR just doing those two things.
Yeah.
Just running LinkedIn content 5 days a week, and then Valley. And now our goal is to for like we have a 3x revenue goal by the end of the year, um, and it's all going to be Valley based. So we're going from 10 seats on Valley to 39, and it's going to be dramatically scaling up the number of meetings that we're booking through LinkedIn Outbound.
That's great. That's yeah, I was gonna ask like how does that scale? But I guess you just add more profiles on
Exactly.
Valley.
Yeah, every single one of our employees is outbounding using Valley, um, and we've seen it work at scale. So like our highest performing customer is booking 300 meetings per month, with roughly 40 seats on Valley right now.
How do you think about like SDRs then if you're relying so much on Valley? Are SDRs running like using Valley to just scale what they're doing, or do you see it as a replacement? Like, what's your view on that?
Yeah, so I think you're just going to be seeing far leaner teams, right? So like the way that Valley is being operated right now is I've got 3 people who run those 40 odd or so accounts. Um, as opposed to having a boiler room of 40 reps, right? So if you think like the average rep was booking uh, 10 meetings a month, and these guys like this company that's booking 300 meetings a month right now with 40 seats, they're booking about 2 meetings a week. So let's call it like 8 per account, and they're doing it with I don't know a team of 3 or 4 people. So yeah, I think SDRs will totally have a place in the future of sales organizations. I don't think that's going anywhere.
Yeah.
There's going to be far fewer of them. but they'll move into other areas of the sales funnel, right? You need operators. You're going to need obviously AEs to take these meetings. I think it'll be a great thing because nobody actually liked being an SDR.
Yeah.
But being able to operate at this magnificent scale with AI, I think is going to be beneficial for everybody across the sales org.
Do you think there's room for AI generated videos in sales? Do you think
No,
we'll ever get there?
no, I don't think so. I think like there is, especially for these like maybe hyper transactional sales. Like at that point, if it's that transactional, like just don't introduce a sales rep. Just go self serve and PLG. I think your general ACV for a sales led deal is going to go up to let's say like 20, 25, 30K as opposed to right 10K, which is where it is right now. Uh, and at that scale, I don't think that you're going to see sort of AI generated bots doing the transaction. Like people want to see a human, they want to shake a hand. So I don't know. I could totally be wrong. Who the fuck knows? If you asked me 5 years ago, like where AI would be today, I would.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a fast moving space. We have no idea. Um, any big learnings you've had while putting out content for the last, 2 years or however long it's been? Like anything you wish you knew at the beginning?
Be consistent with it. Consistency is everything. Like so many people just push out, I don't know, 2 posts a day or a week, do it for 2 months. They're like, this isn't working, and then move on. Just do one thing, do it consistently, and do it well. So if you're going to decide to do content, post every day, spend time on it, get somebody to help you. You don't need to be the best content writer. That's totally something that you can sort of pseudo outsource. Don't just have someone do all of it for you. Review it, make sure it sounds like you, make sure you're happy with it. But get help and yeah, be consistent. That would be the core of it. It's not too late. I would actually say it's still very early to get into the LinkedIn creator, LinkedIn content game, even though it seems like everybody's posting now.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a lot left to run.
Yeah. The last stat from LinkedIn putting out is if you're posting 5 days a week, you were in the top 1% of creators on LinkedIn, which is still insane. Like insane opportunity still. All right, before we wrap, we got a few comments. Hell yeah. Nice job, everyone. But we got one specific question about thoughts on automation campaigns limiting organic reach on content. I think like LinkedIn getting spooked
Yeah.
and limiting your reach.
So what happens there is if you get a bunch of spam, a bunch of messages that are marked as spam, then that's when LinkedIn's going to limit your reach. So the trick there is send good messaging, right? Super simple. And so yeah, Valley is going to be sort of a panacea for that if you're coming from HeyReach or Zopto or one of these templated messaging tools, Expandy, Wellixy, Ducksuit, Meet Alfred, you name it. So yeah, super simple. Just stop getting marked as spam. Send better stuff.
And if I agree fully, and like I think what people overlook is if I'm posting content and Zayd is a prospect of mine or like someone I want to get in front of, if I send him a connection request, LinkedIn is going to show him my content. Like that is fact. And
Yes.
so it is if you're continuously reaching out to the people in your ICP and producing helpful content for that ICP, you are literally forcing your content in front of them if they check LinkedIn pretty regularly. So it is just such a unmatched strategy, I think, from any type of outbound you can do in 2025. All right, Zayd, any final words for the audience before we jump? Anything you wanna push?
Yeah, man. Go to joinvalley.co, book a demo. I'll see you on the other side.
Hell yeah. Thank you for taking the time today. It's been super helpful and see you next time.
Thank you.
See you,
Yeah.
man.
Bye.
Bye.